a decidedly different day than what we saw, Tim, last week.
Hey, they're out there and they're buying the dip. I mean, we'll see what the economic data say later this week about what the path of inflation has been and what people expect it to do. But for now, quite a different tone than what we saw last week, Katie.
And it's pretty amazing. I remember, the week before last and then Tuesday of last week, we were talking about how bad September is seasonally. And then we experienced last week, and things are going to script, but boy, did it feel painful.
It was painful, but so I guess it's not too surprising that we get a recovery today. What's notable, of course, is that you have the Dow Industrials is kind of the best performer of the bunch, certainly out of the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000.
Right, that real economy, right? The cyclical is performing really well. That leads me to Wednesday, guys, because Stuart Kaiser over at Citi says they're looking for about 110 basis point move per options on the S&P. That's post-debate and CPI day. Yeah, and I think this is, we kind of heard this from the chief technician over at Piper Sandler talking about kind of how this market's kind of in this weird netherworld right now, sort of, between the Fed, between obviously the debate and the election, and of course all the fundamentals from corporate earnings that fall in between here. But for right now, I guess that is a good thing here for markets that are sitting on some pretty healthy gains coming off what was one of the worst weeks that they've seen in more than a year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average higher by almost 500 points here on the day, up about 1.2%. And look at that. Flava Flav ringing the closing bell there at the NYSE alongside, this is the women's water polo team. So anyway. He's Flavor Flav. The S&P 500 up 60 points here on the day, or about 1.2%. The NASDAQ higher by almost 200 points, or about 1.6%. Your relative laggard on the day is the Russell 2000, though that's also closing in the green, up by 0.3%.
I did hear that he was at the U.S. Open taking pictures of fans.
I saw it.
Was that the Sabalenka final, I believe?
Yes, he was there at that final.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Hey, taking a deeper look at the S&P 500.
He's having quite the summer, though, right? Like he was at the Olympics. He's like sponsoring all these athletes, and now here he is bringing the closing. And he seems to really be enjoying it too.
It's not a bad place to be right now. I like that. The S&P 500, the vast majority of stocks moved higher. 419 in the green today, 83 in the red today.
And a lot of green when you look at the IMAP, which breaks down the S&P 500 into 11 industry groups. In fact, all 11 groups are higher. Consumer discretionary, industrials, and tech lead the way. And if you were to break down the S&P into 24 groups, the only group that is in the red is media and entertainment. That group down by 0.3%, largely on the weakness of Alphabet.
All right, well, I don't got weakness for you. I got strength for you with the gainers today. I want to start with shares of Boeing, higher by 3.4%. We can go ahead and round that up. Shares rallied on optimism that a labor deal with its largest union will help the U.S. aircraft manufacturer avoid a potentially crippling strike at its Seattle area factories. The accord with union negotiators promises to be a significant victory for Kelly Ortberg, the company's new CEO, but it's too soon to know if workers are going to go along for it or buck their leadership, with anti-management sentiment still running high on the factory floor. The details of, that were hammered out over the weekend include a 25% wage increase over 4 years and a commitment to build Boeing's next plane in the Seattle area, the two sides said in separate statements. Also, taking a look at shares of Palantir, they posted their best one-day gain since February, finishing the day higher by 14%. All because of news that it's one of three companies that will join the S&P 500 as part of the latest quarterly weighting change prior to the open of trading coming on September 23rd. Palantir shares jumping to their highest intraday since February 2021. Wedbush analyst Dan Ives called the addition a, quote, validation moment for the stock. The other two companies that were announced, Dell Technologies and Erie Indemnity, those shares also higher today. And some weed stocks moving higher on the day today, thanks to something that former President Trump posted to his social media. Tilray Brands being one of those, higher by close to 5%. Donald Trump posted on social media his support behind several cannabis issues, including drug rescheduling, Florida legalization, and safe banking. Katie?
All right, let's take a look at some decliners right now. I wanted to start with Merck. Of course, this was really interesting news coming early this morning that Summit Therapeutics, in partnership with another company, released or presented the latest data of its lung cancer drug, which actually showed statistically significant improvement. There we go. And that, of course, has concerns around Merck's Keytruda, of course, which is very popular. So you could see those jitters in the stock as well. Also wanted to take a look at Alphabet. Google, of course, the ad empire under fire as that U.S. antitrust trial begins. You remember, of course, 1 month ago, it lost that landmark ruling that it illegally dominates online search. So those antitrust concerns still plaguing Alphabet. And then let's end with Nike. No real news here, but the stock did have another down day. And it's just been a terrible year for Nike, of course, down 26%, and of course, down a little bit more today.
All right, we do have some earnings. We are awaiting Oracle earnings, but Rubrik, data cloud software company, out with its results here. Third quarter revenue coming in at roughly about $216 million. The company providing a guidance here, and I'm just going to get right to it here because this seems to be the result of the weakness that we're seeing in the shares. The company providing guidance of 216 to 218 million in third quarter revenue. The street was looking for 215 here, so that's slightly above. The adjusted loss for the quarter at about 39 to 41 cents is the guidance. The street was looking for 43 cents and full year basis. You're looking at revenue guidance of 830 to 838 million. The street looking for 824.
All right, I'm taking a look at the bond market here, guys, just for your wrap up. Not a lot to see here. A little bit of selling on the front end, but that's after some massive buying that we saw all throughout last week. That 210 spread also now disinverted by about 3 basis points, not the 6 that we saw on Friday, but nevertheless the 3. So sort of steady as she goes as we head into CPI, guys.
All right, well, we are awaiting more companies than just Rubrik reporting earnings. We're still expecting Oracle to post its results. First fiscal quarter results are going to have investors hopeful for continued acceleration in their cloud infrastructure business.
Yeah, let's take a look. This is the fiscal first quarter. Adjusted revenue, $13.3 billion, slightly higher than the expected $13.25 billion. Adjusted operating margin, 43%, also better than what was anticipated. Adjusted EPS of $1.39, beating the consensus of $1.33. The point, the part of the business everyone's fixated on is the cloud infrastructure revenue. That was $2.2 billion, in line with what analysts had anticipated, but this was seen growing 46%. So it is that scale of that increase that has impressed a lot of investors, especially because it's been seen as kind of an also-ran when it comes to the cloud business, but it's slowly been building up a lot of quite a bit of a reputation as a go-to and a very reliable cloud source of cloud infrastructure.
Well, how's this for scale of cloud infrastructure? Oracle Chair and CTO Larry Ellison says that the company has 162 cloud data centers in operation and under construction around the world. The largest is 800 megawatts. It's going to contain acres of NVIDIA GPU clusters for training large-scale AI models. And in the first quarter of the year, 42 additional cloud GPU contracts were signed for a total of $3 billion.
You take a look at how shares are reacting right now. It seems like investors after hour deciding that all of this is good news. Oracle shares currently jumping quite significantly, up 4%. Initially spiked lower after the release, Romaine, but now definitely higher. Of course, adding to what's already been a very good year for Oracle.
Yeah, now one thing I like about the release is they always sort of put in some of the customers that either were onboarded or is increased purchases in the quarter. Of course, you mentioned we have the Palantir on there as well, but a lot of healthcare companies too. And it gets to this idea here of who really needs this type of data power, who needs to really sort of take advantage of some of these AI capabilities. And at least if you use Oracle as a proxy for that, you do see a lot of healthcare names in that space.
Yep, and also AWS. They say in the press release that biggest news of all was signing a multi-cloud agreement with AWS. AWS customers getting that access to the Oracle database when they go live in December. Also some more color here. 42 added cloud GPU contracts signed for $3 billion in the first quarter. That adjusted revenue overall coming at $13.31 billion. I mean, this is it, guys, right? Like you have some AI offerings and then you make money off of it. And then you have the numbers that come out and then your stock goes up.
Nothing in the press release about Paramount.
You make it sound so simple, Alex.
Nothing in here about Paramount, guys.
Larry.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Nothing in here about Paramount.
That support is implied. It's not explicit.
Okay.
It's just kind of in the background.
That story.
That's a side project. It's his fun thing that he does on the side, right?
The story.
Side hustle.
The story continues to go.